Welcome, Legion. Today I want to talk to you guys about building muscle and strength for sports performance. Now, I think it's important to note that there is a bit of a difference between going for maximal strength and building maximum amount of muscle and sports performance. So if we're thinking maximal strength can be correlated to weightlifting or powerlifting, and building maximal muscle mass can be referred to as almost bodybuilding. There does need to be a distinct difference between what you're going to do as an athlete and what they might do when they're training. We can certainly use elements of what those athletes do, and if you are an athlete yourself that is based in the strength sport, then by all means you can still follow the same bit of advice that I'm giving here, but that is your sport, or that is that athlete's sport. They compete either to have the most amount of muscle mass or compete to lift the most amount of weight. If you're a field or team sport athlete, that's actually not your sport. It can definitely help, and we can definitely use elements of those sports. First thing you've got to consider is, what are your sporting goals? What do you actually want to achieve? It's important to really define this, because if you're just saying you want to increase lean muscle mass or get stronger for the sake of it, but it has no reflection on your sporting performance, you may just need to reconsider why you're doing it in the first place. Because there is going to be a lot of time and effort to achieve these goals, and if it's not to really help your sports performance, then maybe just reconsider what you're about to set out to do. Do you really need all the mass that'll help for your sport? And the answer sometimes is going to be yes. If it's a combative type sport, having some extra muscle mass is definitely helpful. It can be protective in nature. It can build your body armor per se. Having a little bit more muscle mass can obviously help with that strength to weight ratio. Okay, so how strong do you need to be for your sport? I need you to ask yourself that question, and I need you to ask yourself, what do you need to be strong at? All right, because it's no good having a wicked bench press if you're going to do no pressing whatsoever in your sport. It's obviously great to have a strong bench press and work on horizontal pushing movements, but if it's not going to correlate well to your sport, maybe you shouldn't have as big a focus on it as what you currently do. Or if it's not one of your goals and it's not going to help the overall improvement of your athleticism, it can still be in the program, but maybe it's not the main focus. If it is a big part of your sport, well, let's make it the centerpiece, and let's build around that. Another thing I want you to consider is, what are the primary movements and muscles that are involved in your sport? So if you've got a really running-based sport, the posterior chain, all the muscles on the back side of the body, lower back, traps, glutes, hamstrings, lats, calves, they're going to be heavily used. So it's important to build some strength and maybe even a little bit of muscle mass on that back side that might correlate to really good sports performance. And I guess what we're really trying to look for is more speed and power and explosiveness. That's what's really going to help us on the field. And if we need to generate a little bit more force from getting strong and having a little bit more muscle to get that force going, then so be it. That's a great reason to do that. If you're focusing too much on your upper body though, for vanity's sake, look, this is okay. It's okay to look good. I don't have anything against that. Just make sure that it doesn't come at the cost of your own sports performance. If you are deteriorating on the field or on the track or on the court because you are doing too much vanity work in the gym, then you need to reassess. You need to reconsider what you're doing. There's only so much amount of time you can contribute to training, and you want to make the absolute most out of it. You want it to be really efficient. So whatever you're doing in the gym needs to be effective and have good transfer and carry over to your goals and what you want to achieve on the sporting field. So with this, it's all about choosing the right time. So sometimes a bit of extra hypertrophy or muscle mass gain is really, really great in the off season. So you're going to have a little bit of muscle soreness from this type of training. So if you're not actually playing your sport, you're not competing, you're not doing sport-specific training, off-season is a great time to get into the gym and build that muscle where you need to build it. Pre-season can be a better phase to improve maximal strength, or strength that will transfer really well into the season. Pre-season is a great time for this. It's going to be really hard to kind of build mass outside of the off-season period, just because there is so much muscle damage. So even in pre-season, strength training doesn't necessarily need to correlate to soreness. There's definitely going to be a level of fatigue, but this is okay. A bit of fatigue during the pre-season phase is actually almost what we want, because we want you to build a bit of a resilience. If you can become resilient during the pre-season phase, in-season's almost going to become quite easy. Because what you need to get through is the week-to-week or even the day-to-day combativeness of playing your sport. Then, during the season, you might just maintain these two qualities. Try and retain your muscle mass that you've built over the off-season, and try and retain your strength that you've built during that pre-season phase. Plenty more questions that can be asked about this stuff, but this is a great start, just to get an understanding of what it really means to you and what your main goals are from an athletic point of view, and whether you actually need more muscle mass and strength. And if you do, let's plan it out. Let's work it out properly. All right, thanks for that, guys.